Hi everybody, my name's Miss Vinise and welcome to our new virtual program, Preschoolers Explore STEM. So, are you a preschooler? Do you like to explore? Double thumbs up. Are you ready to explore STEM? Wait, do you know what STEM means? Well, I'll let you know. STEM is S for science, T for technology, E for engineering, and M for mathematics. And even though that sounds very serious, it can be a whole bunch of fun. So, today, the part of STEM that we're going to explore is the E, ding, 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 for engineering. We're going to do a building experiment. So let's jump right in and get our kits. So our kits are a little plastic bag that comes with instructions. Inside each kit, it will give you a whole bunch of large toothpicks. Watch out, the tips can be very sharp. Some gummy bears, gummy bears. But these gummy bears aren't for eating. Well, not yet. We have some tiny marshmallows and great big marshmallows. A bunch of little toothpicks. Once again, be careful. The tips can be very, very sharp. And Jell-O. So the very first thing we need to do for our experiment is make Jell-O. You'll need a grown-up to help you. Follow the instructions on the Jell-O box and create some Jell-O in a baking dish. We need a few hours to let the Jell-O solidify. That's a fancy word. Solidify means to make something that was once liquid into a solid. And that's what happens to Jell-O when you make the warm liquid cold. It becomes a solid. A little bit of a wibbly wobbly solid, that's what we love about Jell-O, but a solid nevertheless. So, once the Jell-O is all set and waiting in the refrigerator to solidify, we can start our experiment. And that reminds me, I should go make my Jell-O. I'll be right back. Ta-da! My Jell-O is now a solid. And now that we have our Jell-O created, we can start engineering. So today we're going to engineer buildings and structures using toothpicks. And the people who engineer buildings, they have a lot to consider before they start building their buildings. They have to figure out how many people are going to be in the building. What are they going to use it for? Is it going to be a school or a home? We use schools and homes very differently. But not only that, they also have to consider what the forces of nature might do to that building. Crazy, right? Meaning they have to build something thinking about what the sun and the wind and the rain and the snow might do to that building. And sometimes those things damage or even destroy the whole building. Some really destructive forces of nature are hurricanes, floods, tornadoes. I'm missing one. Oh, yeah, earthquakes. Oh my goodness. Speaking of earthquakes, that reminds me, we need to get on with our experiment. I'm gonna go put the Jell-O back in the refrigerator so it stays cool while we're building. I'll be right back. All right, our Jell-O is safe and sound in the cold refrigerator. The cold helps the Jell-O stay solidified as a solid. If we kept the Jell-O out in the warm outside or even in this room, it would gradually melt into a liquid. All right, let's get building. So our challenge today is to create toothpick structures that can withstand the rolling waves of an earthquake. I'll talk a little bit more about the rolling waves of an earthquake in just a moment, but I want to get started building. So first, we're going to create a square. And to create a square with our toothpicks and our marshmallows, we're going to need the same amount of toothpicks as there are sides in a square. Do you know how many sides are in a square? That's right, there are 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 toothpicks. I have a harder question. How many corners are in a square? Let's think. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each marshmallow is going to be in a corner. So we need 4 marshmallows, 4 toothpicks. I'll show you how to make a square. Let me get a little bit closer. So first I've got my toothpicks, my marshmallows, and I'm going to stick one of the marshmallows very carefully onto the toothpick. Remember, the toothpick has very pointy edges. Next, I'm going to stick another toothpick right into it to make the corner of our square. I've got 2 sides of our square. We need 4 sides. Let me stick another one. And if you need help with a grown-up with this, definitely ask, because this can be very tricky. Once you get the first shape down, it gets a little bit easier. So I've got 4 sides, but only 3 corners. Let me get this last corner. Perfect. I made a square using toothpicks and marshmallows. The toothpicks are my sides, and the marshmallows are my corners. I'm going to come right back over here and set this aside because I want to make one more shape. The next shape I'm going to try is a triangle. We're going to need the same amount of toothpicks as sides in a triangle. Do you guys remember how many sides are on a triangle? 3. 3 sides, 3 toothpicks, 3 corners, 3 marshmallows. I'll come a little bit closer just like I did with the square. So for our triangle, we're going to start it off just like the square and add 2 toothpicks to the marshmallow. But this time, I'm going to kind of make a little V with my toothpicks like this and my marshmallows, and then carefully attach the last side of my triangle to the toothpicks and marshmallows. Oh, it's a floppy triangle. So now I have a triangle, and I also have a square. We're going to need a lot of triangles and squares to create a whole structure. So go ahead and start building your triangles, squares. You could probably add a rectangle or some other odd shape here or there. That's what we're here for, is to explore and to try different things out that maybe engineers would like to try out. We also have these larger marshmallows and these larger sticks, which will probably make a much stronger square or triangle than these tiny sticks and tiny marshmallows. So while you're creating shapes, let's chat a little bit about earthquakes. Oh, let me go check on my Jell-O. 1 second. All right, my Jell-O's still doing good, still being solid, still chilling out in the refrigerator. So let's talk about earthquakes. Did you know that our planet Earth, is always on the move? It's always moving. Sometimes it moves sideways, sometimes it moves up and down, and most of the time the movements are so small and so slow that we can't feel them at all. Some of the continents are slowly moving apart right now as we speak, but they move so slowly that your fingernails grow faster than them moving. Crazy, right? But sometimes parts of the earth move very quickly, and sometimes this quick movement leads to earthquakes. Every day there are over 1,000 earthquakes on planet Earth, but most of them are so small that people don't really feel them. But every now and then there's larger earthquakes, and those earthquakes can not only be felt by people, but sometimes they break down entire buildings and rip up roads. I mean, there are some giant earthquakes. Right here in Rochester, we don't get those giant earthquakes, not very often at all. At the center of these giant earthquakes, parts of the earth are moving really up and down or side to side, and that movement creates waves. They're called seismic waves, to be exact. And those waves are what we feel as shaking. Okay, back to the building. Are we ready to create a structure with our triangles and squares? All right, grab all the shapes that you've created using the toothpick. And we are going to build a tower, or really any kind of structure you would like. So pause this video and press play after you've created your building and grabbed your Jell-O out of the refrigerator. And I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab my Jell-O. All right, I've got my Jell-O, I've got my building, and it's almost time to create an earthquake. Now you're probably wondering, how did you create such a beautiful building, Miss Vinise? By just using shapes? I connected each of those shapes with another toothpick and then connected the toothpicks to my building to make this beautiful tower. Oh no, the tower is falling, which is totally fine because that's part of engineering, figuring out what works, what doesn't with the materials that we have. So we are going to put our building on our Jell-O. I'm going to call this Jell-O, Planet Jell-O, and we're going to see if my building can withstand the earthquakes on Planet Jell-O. Let's plop this beautiful building right on there. Ooh. Planet Jell-O is a very wibbly wobbly planet surface. Could you imagine living on a whole planet of Jell-O? It would be very yummy, but very sticky. All right, once the building's on the surface like this, we're gonna add some gummy bears as inhabitants. Little creatures that live on our planet Jell-O inside our marshmallow building. You can place one or two on your structure. I'm gonna grab this little red guy, and I'm gonna put him right here on my building. Yay! Gummy bear! Are you guys ready for the earthquake? Are you ready, gummy bear? It's gonna start shaking. So grab onto the sides of your dish, and you can start with a little earthquake first. Uh-oh, uh-oh, shake, shake, shake. Planet Jell-O has an earthquake, oh no! And you can keep shaking. My little gummy bear fell. But my building's doing pretty good in Planet Jell-O. What if we got a huge earthquake? Shake, shake, shake. Wow, my building did really well. Unfortunately, my little gummy bear fell down. How did your gummy bears do? Did they fall down too? Did your whole building tip over? It looks like my building's tipping over right now. Did all your gummy bears get mysteriously eaten? Because my little gummy bears are probably going to get eaten very soon. So now as an engineer, we can look at our original building and find ways to make it stronger, or ways we can get more gummy bears to be able to live on it. That is, if you don't eat them first. What if we made our building taller or wider? Would it make it stronger or weaker? What if we had giant gummy bears? Like, I'm talking this big. Well, you probably couldn't fit in the dish. Big gummy bears. That sounds really amazing. In fact, I'm gonna go and find a giant gummy bear right now and see if he can just crush my whole marshmallow building. That'd be pretty fun too. I hope you had fun exploring engineering using Jell-O, gummy bears, marshmallows, and toothpicks. And I'll have another experiment for you guys next month in October. Until then, keep exploring.